Talladega, Oxford, Anniston, and streaming live 24/7 at WTDRThunder.com. Alabama's #1 Thunder 92.7.
Dream, and we see it too. That's why Bank of America wants to ensure that Black business owners like you have the opportunity to make it a reality. Specialists work with you to share the guidance and expertise you need to overcome the unique challenges you face running and growing your business every day, and to help you turn dreaming into doing. Visit bankofamerica.com/Black.
She's hot.
Okay. That's. You're using that back?
Yeah.
You're putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many for hope.
It's weird, I gotta wait for the notification from YouTube that the show is hot before I can actually share it.
One second happen. You lose your license? Lose your life. Whatever. Wait. Paid for by.
Yeah, there it is.
About buying a camper? Well, you need to come to Campers Unlimited on Highway 77 and I-59 in Gadsden. Locally owned and operated. You'll find their a great selection of best-selling brands, including Grand Design, Rockwood, Compass, East to West, Cherokee, Wolfpack, and more. And they have many years of experience in the Central Alabama area in the RV business. They have a beautiful big showroom with 14 service bays. Payments as low as $132 a month on a new camper with 10% down. Over 130 travel trailers.
Ready to throw our flagship station under the bus?
No hassle, no rigmarole. And they've got a campground, the Cove RV Resort.
I don't know him anything.
No.
Check it all out at Campers Unlimited, Highway 77 and I-59 in Gadsden.
Like choosing.
I also noticed something. All of their PSAs that I usually take out, they're all out of date. I don't know what's going on around here, but it ain't good.
No, it ain't. And when you got Kay Abby's twin sister doing stuff down here.
Yeah. All right.
Girls, NASCAR, and NHRA.
Well, 2/3 of the gang is here. John is taking a weekend off to be with the family and try and get stuff done at the homestead. So we're going to let him have his rest. In the meantime, I'm back in studio, which is a good thing considering that last week, apparently, I don't know what, 2/3 of the show was not heard on our flagship station because somewhere down the line, somebody didn't tell us that the phone system wasn't working properly and it wasn't going out over the air. So our listeners and viewers via YouTube were fine. Those who were listening on the flagship station of Thunder 92.7 or on the radio apps that carry it, yeah, they missed out on a lot.
Yeah, they did.
So we apologize on behalf of the flagship station and hope that everything gets fixed before the next time that we have to do that. You never know.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we're working on a trip to Darlington. We haven't got confirmation just yet, but we're working on it. Doesn't appear like we're going to go there as workers this time. That's another story entirely.
Well, yeah. I've had an interesting enough week already as it is. Let's let the weekend calm down.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be
So anyway,
great.
but yeah, that's the next trip that we got planned. So we'll look at it from the positive
Yeah.
side. Instead of going as workers, it looks like we'll end up going as fans/media.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be CRN story time. Speaking of which, other than the fact that the phone system wasn't working last week,
Yeah.
we'll have a CRN story time talking
Good.
about the trip up to and back from Indianapolis coming
Good.
up a little bit later on.
Good.
Well, let's get into the meat of this, shall we? And talk about last weekend's on-track review with Formula E. That's where we start. Final race weekend for them of the 2020-2021 season. I say that because they did preseason practice technically in 2020, but they didn't do the first official race of the year until 2021.
Mm-hmm.
But since they started the practicing in 2020, we'll give them that. Anyway, it's a doubleheader weekend in Berlin, Germany. Saturday morning, Antonio Felix da Costa was your pole sitter, but he lost it quickly to his front row competitor, Jean-Eric Verne. That being said, the pair of DS Takeda drivers were being snookered into using their two attack mode bonus power times early on in the race by Lucas di Grassi.
Mm-hmm.
And he played this perfectly.
He did.
He really did. Got to give him a lot of credit on this. Di Grassi, on the other hand, had a strong enough car to be able to keep the pressure on, but not enough to get around them until he waited and then used his own attack modes.
Mm-hmm.
Got two of them per race, and he was able to use those to get around the leaders, claims the win, makes the point battle just a little bit more interesting. Rest of your top 10, second place, Eduardo Mortara, Mitch Evans, Norman Nato. I found out that's the correct pronunciation, not NATO.
Nato. Gotcha.
Nato. Jake Dennis, Jean-Eric Verne. Yeah, he fell all the way back from second down well into the top 10, as did Antonio Felix da Costa. Mitch Evans. Max Gunther, Renee Rast, and Andre Lauderer. We'll get back to the points because Sunday morning they had another race and we figured out who the champion was.
Mm-hmm.
But first, over to Indycar. They raced on the road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway last Saturday. Now, drivers tend to find a track, and you can probably verify this better off than I can,
Mm-hmm.
because being the resident driver of the show.
Right.
Drivers tend to find a track, or if they're lucky, tracks where everything just feels right, and they go on to win a whole lot of races there.
Mm-hmm.
You found that to be true?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
This is the case with the road course for one Will Power. Power came into this race with 5 wins at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 2018 Indy 500, and 4 different wins on the road course. Well, let's make that 6 wins at Indy now, 5 of them on the road course. But it did take Power overcoming a series of late race cautions. Didn't seem to hurt that the second place driver, Romain Grosjean, had already used up all 200 seconds of his push to pass by lap 65. So he didn't have any of it left for the end of the race. So he ends up in second place, 1.1 seconds down. And in the process of getting the win, he gets win number 40 of his career. He's kind of quietly gotten win number 40. More on that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Grosjean's second, trailed by Colton Herta, Alexander Rossi, Pato O'Ward, Jack Harvey, nice run for him,
Yep.
Graham Rahal, Joseph Newgarden, Marcus Ericsson, and Takuma Sato. Alex Palou had a strong car at the beginning of the race, but he was down on power almost from the beginning and finished outside the top 10, but he remains on top of the points. He has 415. Pato O'Ward jumps up to second place, 394, over defending champion Scott Dixon, who had not a really good day. 381 points is where he sits. Joseph Newgarden's fourth holds 360 points. Marcus Ericsson, with 4 races left, has 353. I think we can really call it a battle amongst the top 5. I don't think we have to worry about 6 through 10.
No. You're right. I agree.
As for the rookie standings, this is a 2-man battle. Jimmy Johnson with only 72 points. We'll keep you updated on that, but it's not really advancing that much. As for the battle between the top 2, Romain Grosjean with that second place finish at Indy, and Scott McLaughlin with really a fairly uncharacteristically for him this year, bad day, now only holds Scott McLaughlin a slim 213 to 206 point lead over Romain Grosjean. This is going to get interesting.
Yeah, our resident Frenchman, he's woken up.
He
in a
has.
big way.
He has.
Yeah.
And here's the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget that this weekend, when we get to the scheduling, while they're on an oval, so's Romain Grosjean. So this isn't that easy little bye that Scott's been having all year long on the ovals. He now has to battle.
And you remember, we watched a little video of his oval test,
Yes, we did.
and he wasn't slow.
No, he was not a slug at all.
Nope, not at all.
But let's get back to last Saturday. As it was in 2020, NASCAR Indycar doubleheader, including the Xfinity Series, both of those series on the road course. The fans at the historic track in Indiana do seem to know those who are hometown or home state born and or bred. And one of those is Austin Cindric. Now, Austin Cindric was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, but he was raised by his father in Indiana before he moved with Team Penske to their headquarters in North Carolina. So, believe me, sitting in the stands at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, when Austin Cindric not only brings his number 22 Mustang home and grabs the win, this was a very popular
Oh yeah,
win amongst the fans in the stands.
it sounded like it from the NBC television feed.
Yeah, they did a
Sounded
very
like it.
nice job of it, but here's the thing. When you're there,
Yeah.
you begin to realize exactly how much more that it is. For the driver, Austin Cindric, he was so thrilled at the win that he admitted, it's too bad we didn't get this on the radio, to singing, while taking the victory lap, the state song Back Home Again in Indiana. Apparently he was off key, so he didn't want to put it on the radio. He was so dominant that road course ace A.J. Allmendinger was over 2 seconds back in second place. Justin Haley third, then Noah Gragson. Austin Dillon, Myatt Snyder, Riley Earps, Harrison Burton, and Andy Lally make up your top 10. This is the win that gives Cindric now 5 wins on the season. That's compared to 2 wins for Allmendinger and Justin Allgaier. And then your single wins for Myatt Snyder and Jeb Burton. Again, 5 drivers locked into the playoffs now of 12 slots that are possible.
Mm-hmm.
The other playoff contenders on points right now are the guy that you may have heard just before us on ZMAX Racing Country on our flagship station, Daniel Hemrick. Then Harrison Burton, Justin Haley, Noah Gragson, Brandon Jones, Jeremy Clements, Riley Earps. Riley Earps continues to hold that rather slim 15-point lead over Brandon Brown, now with 5 races left. It's not comfortable, but it does appear, we mentioned this before,
Yeah.
that Romain Grosjean has appeared to have woken up. It appears like Riley Earps has woken up.
Yeah.
Which,
He's
for a year like what Stewart-Haas Racing has had, that ain't a bad thing.
oh no.
It was needed, in fact. That was a shot in the arm. Between that and that win a couple of weeks ago by Eric Almirola,
Right.
that is everything that Stewart-Haas Racing needed.
It really is, but it's weird to actually say that it took Eric Almirola of all people to wake the team up.
Exactly.
It's really weird to say.
I agree with that. To Sunday morning and racing back in Berlin, Germany, where we would crown the 2020-21 Formula E champion. But first, the race. Norman Nato took advantage of a late race 3-wide clash. Yes, 3-wide clash. You don't do that in Formula E on street courses. Between one of the Mercedes and the pair of Porsches, and that allowed Nato to gain an insurmountable lead. He gets his first career Formula E win. Oliver Rowland is able to power his Nissan through that battle. He claims second. Then Stoffel Van Dorn limps his Mercedes home in third, trailed by the Porsche of Andre Lauterer in fourth. From 5th through the 10th place, the finishing order includes Alex Sims, Pascal Wehrlein, the other Porsche, Sam Bird, Nick DeVries, we'll get back to him, Renee Raston, Tom Bloomquist. Wow, we haven't talked about him all year long. For his 8th place finish, DeVries claims 4 championship points. That is enough to ensure that he claims the title. 99 points to Eduardo Motora's 92, and 91 for Jake Dennis in 3rd, officially in the final standings. Mitch Evans was 4th, Robin Frein, Sam Bird, Lucas DeGrassi, Antonio Felix da Costa, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Jean-Eric Verne round out the top 10 in final standings. And see if this sounds familiar. Nick DeVries, the champion, drives for Mercedes.
Right.
When was the last time we heard about Mercedes and championship drivers? Oh, that's right. Last year and the year before, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before, all the way back to 2013 with Lewis Hamilton, for the most part, and Mercedes.
Right.
Oh, and see if this sounds familiar. Your team standings show that the title for the car manufacturer went to Mercedes. Racked up 181 points. Jaguar second with 177. 166 for DS Takita in third, a tie for fourth at 165 with Audi, and they hold the tiebreaker in their final year of the sport, just bettering Envision Virgin Racing. Then you got 157 for BMW I Andretti, Rocket Venturi next with 146, Tag Heuer Porsche 137, Mahindra 132, Nissan 97, 47 for Dragon Team Penske, and also in there with a lowly 19, Neo F33, last amongst the 12 teams. We'll get back to this because there's some big news out of this sport coming up later. Then we get to NASCAR's top-level series. This is the Cup Series, running for the first time at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. And we talked about this last week. Unfortunately, those of you listening on the flagship station didn't hear a whole lot of it. But there were several drivers who weren't really happy about being on the road course.
Quite a few.
Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin among them. I mean, we're talking some big hitters. They would have much rather been on the big oval, thinking that's where the big draw is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and we all talk about the Indianapolis 500. The fans in Indianapolis are loving racing regardless.
Right.
They don't care whether it's on the road course or on the oval or going down to Lucas Oil Raceway Park. This is a racing town. But I see where Denny Hamlin, I see where Kevin Harvick, and quite frankly, Austin Dillon and some of the other drivers, I see where they're coming from. Because the lure of Indianapolis wasn't built upon the road course. The lure of Indianapolis was built upon the Indy 500, which was running on the rectangle, the oval, whatever.
Agreed.
I understand their point.
Yeah.
And then we get into the details. A road course, of course, made up of 14 turns, saw the heavy NASCAR stockers rolling over curbing that the Indycar cars had avoided the day before. During stage breaks and rare cautions, workers were seen working on the curbing in turn 5, specifically. But with 6 laps to go, the curbing was punched up by one car, and eventually it ended up with a chain reaction that took out no less than 9 cars.
Mm-hmm.
And a 20-minute red flag ends up removing that piece of curbing to clean up the cars and the debris and remove the curbing. And it got so much to the point where on the screens around the track and on the television coverage by the NBC Sports Network, you saw Indianapolis Motor Speedway track president Doug Bowles grabbing a broom off one of the service trucks to help sweep up and clean up.
This is where you say you don't see this often, kids.
No, you don't. And congratulations to Doug Bowles for rolling up his sleeves and being willing to go and get down and dirty with those workers to try and get things back to racing.
Rolling his sleeves up, taking his jacket off, and throwing the tie over the shoulder.
Yep, I got to give him credit for that.
Absolutely.
That being said, when things restarted, Denny Hamlin, on 10-lap older tires than the rest of the field, was leading when the green flag was shown to them, and we tried to do, a green-white checkered finish. Then there's Chase Briscoe. Briscoe's on much better tires. Well, 10 laps better than what Denny Hamlin. But he showed rookie impatience that, truth be told, he didn't really need to. He started tapping Hamlin's bumper as they were going around turn 7, and as they were coming out of 7, ends up spinning Hamlin out of the lead and inherits it himself, but that's only for about, 5 to 10 seconds, because Briscoe, we'll get back to this during the news, had been penalized for running off course back in turns 1 and 2 on the restart. And all of this leaves one A.J. Allmendinger as the beneficiary, who ends up rolling on to the win.
Which now puts Colleague as the quickest team to win in history.
Yeah, keep that in mind. Let's get back to that later.
Yeah.
Ryan Blaney ends up 2nd. Kyle Larson 3rd. The guy who I had picked to win the race, not that you heard that last week, was Chase Elliott. He finished 4th. Matt DiBenedetto 5th. Kurt Busch 6th. Then Eric Jones, Justin Haley, Austin Cindric, and Ryan Newman. Allmendinger, of course, is running for points in the Xfinity Series, so he is not eligible for the Cup playoffs. So here's where things remain. Kyle Larson remains your 1 seed with Martin Truex Jr. and Alex Bowman at 3 wins each. Then you got Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott, 2 wins each, and the litany of single-time winners, led by William Byron, then Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Christopher Bell, Michael McDowell, and Eric Almirola. That leaves only 3 people, 3 drivers, in on points. At this time, they are Denny Hamlin, who now is in no danger.
Mm-hmm.
He's effectively locked into the playoffs.
Yep.
Because he's got that big of a points lead. Kevin Harvick is in there, and then Tyler Reddick. Now, Reddick benefited from Austin Dillon being one of those 9 cars that wrecked out. His lead is now up to 28 points over his teammate for that final playoff spot. But again, 2 races to go in the regular season.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they're comfortable by any stretch of the imagination. All it takes is a couple of Eric Almirolas, which is not out of the realm of possibility when you consider some of the tracks that we're going to. Michigan can be a little bit of a wild card, but, oh, by the way, Daytona looms, and nobody knows what can happen at Daytona.
Yeah, that's...
Witness Michael McDowell winning the Daytona 500.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And, yeah, we got a little bit of an early start. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up with the final event of last weekend, the Menards NHRA Nationals, presented by Pet Armor. They were in Kansas, Topeka specifically. In Top Fuel Finals, no Steve Torrence. Huh. What happened to him? Anyway, it was Brittany Force taking on Clay Milliken. Milliken comes in against Force, 9-8 against her all time, but Force, much quicker off the light, powers her to the win. She runs a 9.783 ET at 324.75 miles per hour. That's her first event win of this year, her 10th Top Fuel win of her career. Kyle Koretsky pairing off against Dallas Glenn in Pro Stock Car Finals. Nope. Where's the funny car? I must have missed the funny car. I apologize. Anyway, Kyle Koretsky against Dallas Glenn in Pro Stock Car Finals. Glenn posts the perfect reaction time. Get this. 0.000. You don't do better than that.
No, you can't.
If you are 1/1000th of a second quicker off the light, you're red lighted.
Yeah.
That's what Glenn pulled. Here's the thing. Line to line, he was actually slower than Koretsky, but because he had the perfect reaction time, and Koretsky was, I want to say, about 4/100ths on the reaction time. That was all he needed. Glenn gets the win, 6.681 ET, 205.01 miles per hour to the 6.651 ET of Koretsky. Now it's Glenn's second event win of 2021. Oh, I know who won Funny Car. That would have been John Force. We'll get back to that during the news. No Pro Stock motorcycle. Factory Stock Showdown did run. Leah Pruitt made it to the finals against John Cerbone, but Cerbone, much better reaction time. He rolls onto the win. 7.912 ET, 174.32 miles per hour. So to the points. 3 drivers, Steve Torrence, Brittany Force, Antron Brown, locked into the title run. Leah Pruitt is 4th. Sean Langdon 5th in points, both about 500 points out of 1st. But right now, what they're worried about is locking their slots into the countdown to the championship. For each division, remember, 10 drivers lock in for the title run. John Force, with the win at Topeka, Kansas, now leads Funny Car points. Ron Capps is 2nd, J.R. Todd 3rd, Bob Tasca the 4th, and all 4 of them are locked into the countdown to the championship. Robert Height and Matt Hagan tied for 5th. Not locked in yet. Greg Anderson, Aaron Stanfield, Erica Enders each locked into the title run in Pro Stock Car. Dallas Glenn just on the outside looking in 4th. Matt Harford 5th. Not yet clinching a countdown to the championship slot. And then we go to the Factory Stock Showdown points. This is different. They don't do that countdown to the championship like the Camping World Drag Racing Series does. You just end up getting a points winner at the end of the year. And right now, Aaron Stanfield's looking pretty good. He leads the points 345-283 over David Barton. David Janik's got next with 209, 205 for Jesse Alexandra. Stephen Bell has 203. As for the aforementioned Leah Pruitt, she sits 6th with 188. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you about this week's on-track action, and then we'll get into that whole situation at Indianapolis where they ended up having to remove the curbing.
This will be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Wait for that particular discussion. We're just underway. It's CRN.
I don't know, understand why this thing is buffering so bad like it's doing.
Introducing WVTM 13 Live Doppler.
It sees the storms first.
First, because it's live.
A Central Alabama exclusive.
First, because of its location.
Positioned in the path of oncoming storms.
First, to warn you when danger approaches.
A true right now look at severe weather.
Giving you more time to get to safety. WVTM 13 Live Doppler.
Are
Only
you
on
serious?
today's WVTM 13 News.
What?
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish,
What's it
or
doing?
Russian?
Lock,
The thought
slam
would
down,
be too
lock,
difficult and
slam down.
time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com
Very
and
good.
try it for free.
Key-
Babbel works because it's
yeah,
built around
frozen.
real life. It
Keyframe
teaches you
less than 4
everyday
seconds.
practical
Where's the
conversations that
keyframe
you will
at?
actually use.
There's no
15
keyframe on
minutes a day.
I
You'll
don't
be on your way to speaking a new language. in
Oh,
just
the
15
entertainment
minutes.
of video.
Babbel uses a
Yeah, no joke.
conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel was created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned.